Hello, and welcome to another one of my book reviews. And today, I would like to talk to you about Osama, a novel by Lavie Tidhar. This 2011 novel is an alternate history title that takes place in a history without Osama bin Laden and without Al Qaeda. What if these terrorists didn't exist? How would the world turn out? And it's a very interesting read. It is very much a pulp mystery novel featuring your little monosyllabic Joe, private detective, no last name, as he is hired to track down Mike Longshot, which is the pen name of this mysterious author who is writing a series of books about Osama bin Laden, a vigilante hero. And, well, it's such a strange world. A world of what could be, a world of what isn't. And you're about to dive in to this world with Joe as you find the twists and turns and get a glimpse through the veil of other worlds out there, including our own. So Osama was published back in 2011 by PS Publishing. This is the PS Publishing limited edition, which was 100 signed copies. There's, Tidhar's signature right there. There's an unsigned copy as well, and I know it did get a trade release, trade paperback release. Perhaps what's most famous about Osama, other than the titular Osama and his infamous crimes, what's most famous about the novel Osama is that it actually beat a bunch of other heavy hitters at the 2012 World Fantasy Awards for Best Novel. It beat out a little author by the name of Stephen King for 11/22/63. It beat out George R. R. Martin for Dance with Dragons. Beat out Joe Wharton and Joe Walton, not Wharton. I'm combining her with Edith Wharton, and it also beat out Christopher Buehlman for Those Across the River, and deservedly so. I haven't read all of the other novels, but Osama is one hell of a rabbit hole to go down. A lot of reviews online compare it to The Man in the High Castle by Philip K. Dick, which is another alternate history novel of what ifs. Like what if things turned out, or what if these things had played out the way they are. And then you have a mysterious figure, the Man in the High Castle, or Mike Longshot, writing about our own reality. So, like, what if the Axis lost World War II? Or what if Osama bin Laden and Al Qaeda were committing their terrorist attacks? Although, like I said, he's portrayed as almost a vigilante hero in the novel. I don't think that A Man in the High Castle is quite the right comparison for it. I mean, at face value, yes, Osama definitely has the similarities to High Castle, but I think it's actually closer to a degree to Flow My Tears, The Policeman Said, which is a novel that deals with alternate dimensions. It deals with a celebrity who wakes up in a reality where he doesn't exist. And you kind of get the glimpse through those realities within that novel, similar to how Joe, within an opium den, gets to see a glimpse of our own reality. As I said, this is not necessarily a world without terrorism. It's just a world without these particular terrorists. The world wars still occurred, although the characters within the world wars were slightly different. The world is like a half step away from our current world. And so there's still shootouts in the street. Joe still has his adversaries that he has to fight. So it's kind of hard to say that there's no terrorism at all within the world of Osama. So much as saying there's just not this particular terrorist. The novel through and through reads like a pulp novel, except, ironically enough, the actual Osama bin Laden vigilante chapters. So you can actually see that in the prologue here. You actually get glimpses to Mike Longshot's novels, which actually read similar to a newspaper article. It's very, very blunt, giving you the facts. The Hilltop Hotel stands on the Nyirami Road in downtown Nairobi. Butcher the hell out of that name. On the busy street outside are shoe shiners, scratch card stands, and so on. Like it very much reads like a report. Whereas the chapters featuring Joe and his actual job, which features a different typeset, read like a classic pulp novel. Reads like a noir thriller. Yes, the comparisons can be made to Man in the High Castle, but I would go so far as saying I actually enjoyed this better, or enjoyed it more than Man in the High Castle. I mean, Philip K. Dick is a master, but Lavie Tidhar is managing to scratch deeper beneath that surface. Yes, the final third, the final several acts do get very vague. The parts get, you know, a lot of vagueness within the chapters, but you still get answers. You still get to dive more into who Mike Longshot is, what is going on between these realities. There are there are people who are almost trapped between these realities within a novel. These refugees who are almost like ghosts traveling between the worlds. It's a very interesting, right there, you mean a ghost? It's a very interesting read through and through. I mean, there's not too much depth to Joe as a character, but I don't think there necessarily needs to be. I mean, that typically happens with a lot of pulp novels. You have, you have your gumshoe detective who's there ready to take on the case, and you might not necessarily have a lot of character development for him. The character development you do get and revelations you do get to Joe's situation have an air of mystery to them. But he serves as the perfect vehicle to bring you through the tale of Osama. But yeah, I mean, I haven't read all the novels that it beat for the World Fantasy Award, but I have read 11/22/63, which is also in a way similar to an alternate history novel. I mean, that's more of a time travel novel where he tries to change history. But I thought it was kind of funny to have two kind of similar ideas nominated in the same year. But I enjoyed this more than 11/22/63. Unpopular opinion, I'm sure. Those Across the River, absolute masterpiece of a werewolf novel. But I can definitely see why Osama won the award. Interesting enough, apparently Lavie Tidhar actually has had several close encounters with terrorist attacks, including Al Qaeda. He stayed in the same hotel as Al Qaeda operatives in Nairobi. He was in Dar es Salaam for the American Embassy bombings in '98. So he actually has close relations to the topic at hand, which just makes it even more powerful of a read, knowing that going in. If you enjoyed the Bookman histories, then you'll probably enjoy Osama. They are both alternate histories. Bookman Histories is filled to the brim with literary references. Osama, not so much. Osama is more rooted in the real world within, our current reality, despite the fact that it takes place in an alternate reality, if that makes sense. The only historical characters you're going to see in Osama are Osama bin Laden and other actual historical people. You're not going to see literary characters. You're not going to have Milady show up. We have clapping going on in the distance. I apologize if you hear celebrations going on. But anyways, Osama by Lavie Tidhar, one hell of a read. You can find it pretty cheap. Even the signed copies, despite being a very low limitation of only 100 copies, are still relatively cheap, like $40 on eBay. So you can pick up a copy for yourself. I'm kind of surprised that this hasn't gotten more praise, especially in the past decade, but surprisingly, it hasn't. It's a very good read. It's very much a noir novel. It's one you should check out if you are a fan of alternate history novels, whether it be Dark Matter, whether it be Man of the High Castle, which you've mentioned time and time again here. Then you should check out Osama. It's one hell of a read. I got plenty of other book reviews on the channel, including unboxings in between those book reviews. So there's plenty of videos to hold you over. Please consider liking and subscribing. Check out Lavie Tidhar at PS Publishing. And, you know what? If you've stuck around, I mentioned how this beat 11/22/63 by Stephen King. If you weren't already privy to the knowledge, at least at the time of recording, PS Publishing is actually doing a special edition of 11/22/63 by Stephen King. So that's kind of fitting. It's going to have gorgeous artwork by Francois Vaillancourt, who is, branching out from Levidian, still giving lots of Levidian illustrations, but branching out as well. So check out PS Publishing's newsletter to watch for that edition, because it's bound to sell out quickly and it's bound to be incredible. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you around next time.